mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 3 of Apple TV's Slow Horses, entitled Bad Tradecraft. I hate when I can't remember the episode title when I'm doing this like opening spiel. But anyway, the title refers to a line that Diana gives when she's meeting with Lamb. And essentially, I like this title because Bad Tradecraft, it refers directly to the line that she gives, but that story that she's telling kind of serves as like almost like the impetus for everything that happens on this show, at least in this season. Like, I feel like that bit of bad tradecraft on her part, which is what she says, that bit of bad tradecraft is how is like what sparks all of these events that have been happening throughout this episode. So, I'm sorry, throughout the season. But I thought this was a great episode. We had humor. We had a lot of information being revealed with still a lot to be revealed. We had a lot of twists and turns. It was fun. Like, this was a really solid episode. Really enjoyed this one. My favorite bit of info, and I love how they did this, and I don't know if this is me or if everybody took it this way and things were revealed differently, but my favorite bit of information we got in this episode revolved around the one kidnapper, Curly, the one who's been quiet. He's looked very contemplative throughout this show. And in episode 2, we see Curly pull out a cell phone upstairs in this house that they have this kidnapped comedic writer imprisoned. And he pulls out this phone, and my interpretation of that scene in that moment, which I didn't get to talk about in my first video because I try not to do spoilers for the first episode of a show, or in this case, the first 2, or in the case of something that comes on HBO Max, the first 3. But I didn't get to talk about it in this episode in that video. But in this episode, we find out. Well, actually, let me start with how I interpreted that. I interpreted that as he had a cell phone hidden there for whatever reason. I didn't know why. I assumed that he had a cell phone hidden, but did you guys assume that he had discovered a cell phone? Like, that's why I was gentle with my wording, because I didn't want to say he found a cell phone. That implies what appears to actually be the case, was that he found this cell phone. And the reason he's been so contemplative and quiet is because he's trying to figure out how to handle the situation. So when we ultimately find out, well, throughout the episode, we get more and more information revolving around the kidnapping and the kidnappers. And we find out from Diana that she has a man on the inside, a mole, amongst the kidnappers. Now, when she said that, my thoughts went back to Curly finding that phone in episode 2. And I go, okay, well, he must be the guy on the inside, because she said they're not allowed to have phones. And I know he has a phone in there. So I'm like, he must be the guy on the inside. But then she said something to the effect of like, we can't call him because he's not supposed to have phones. I'm thinking like, well, does she not know that he has a phone there? Did he sneak that phone in himself? The whole time, though, I'm still thinking Curly has a phone there, so he must be the guy on the inside once she revealed that there was a guy on the inside. And I think the show, I was supposed to think that, unless I read it wrong and I was supposed to read it as him discovering a phone that was hidden. I thought he knew it was there and that he went upstairs to look for a bucket so that he would have an excuse to use the phone or to look at it. Not he was actually looking for a bucket and he just discovered this phone. But as the episode plays out, we come to find out that I think his name was Mo, the hard-ass guy from the Marines. He's the one who's actually the mole on the inside. It was his phone that was discovered, and the reason Curly's been so contemplative is because he's trying to figure out how to handle it, and he handles it in the worst way by chopping this guy's head off. And they bail out, and when Lamb and the team gets there, there's nothing but a headless body and a head on the table and a whole lot of blood. So for me, that was a great reveal, because I totally bought that the phone was Curly's, and that completely changed my interpretation of everything that Diana said and everything that was happening with this terrible plan of hers, by the way. Everything that was happening when this plan was unfolding. So for me, that was a big reveal and a big surprise to find out that Mo was actually the person who was the mole on the inside. So that was really fun. I loved how they did that. But there's a lot more revealed in this episode as well. So I'm going to start with Min and Louisa, who we see at the bar. They're the same ones who are finding excuses to not hang out with, I don't know the name of the guy that they've been avoiding because we don't see him in this episode. We also don't see, what's his name? Roddy Ho. We don't see him. He's mentioned, but we don't see him. And Standish, Catherine Standish. We don't see her this episode either, but she's also mentioned. But Min and Louisa have been avoiding the one guy whose name I don't know. They run into each other at the bar in episode 2. And at first, my thought was that they were telling this guy that they couldn't hang out so they could secretly go out with one another and that they were meeting there intentionally. But it did play out to show that it was just happenstance that they ended up being there. But they're there and they're discussing this whole situation with this kidnapping and how they don't know anything about it, even though they're on the inside. And then Min says that Roddy Ho knows or figured out Lamb's password and that it's password. And they start building up what seems to be a plan to go back to Slough House, use password to log into Lamb's computer and look at his email to get information because they said that he should be CC'd on information about this kidnapping. So it seems like that was their plan. And they go back and they actually start making out, but they hear noises upstairs. And they go upstairs. It seems like someone has been in Lamb's office. The attacker jumps out. Him and Min fall down. Well, him. No promises it was a man at the time, but him and Min fall down the stairs. Apparently, this broke this guy's neck. They take his mask off to reveal it's Jed Moody, who we had seen in the first 2 episodes meeting with Diana to essentially not set up Lamb, but like search for reasons to, I guess, take him down. He said he had a bug planted in Lamb's office, and Diana had told him to take it out. So, and had given him the phone that was only gonna be used to reach her. So once he falls down the stairs, we can now presume like, oh, he must have been there to collect his bug. He also had a envelope of money with a passport, and we also find out, he had the second phone that Diana gave him, and also we find out that he was the person who was at Hobden's house at the end of the last episode as well, where Sid got shot in the head, which I didn't know at the end of that episode if she was dead or not, and we weren't supposed to know. Her even at the end of this episode, her health is still up in question. It sounds like she's probably going to live, but what does that mean for someone shot in the head? We'll see. But that reveal about Jed Moody is a big one. So now we know about his involvement in being at Hobden's house. We also know about his involvement in putting this bug back. Taking this bug back. He was apparently planning on skipping town. And then Lamb uses the phone, sees there's only one number in there, and he calls Diana and he sets up a meeting with Diana. So, but I'm going to talk about that later. We also learned a little bit more about Hobden. He didn't get too much interesting info in this episode, but apparently this whole thing was like a wrong place, wrong time kind of deal for him. Diana tells the story in which she uses the bad Tradecraft line. She was at a bar, I'm assuming says the Frontline Club or Lounge or some shit, some bar or restaurant, discussing with her brother this entire plan that they have concocted. This whole hostage situation is a plan. She's discussing this plan with him, and she goes to the bar and sees that Hobden was sitting in the booth beside her. So she was probably drunk, tipsy, loudmouth talking some secret fucking shit, and there just so happens to be a washed-up reporter sitting behind her. And like I said, this sparks the whole thing. She needs to know what he knows. Did he overhear it? Did he take notes? Did he ever record her? She needs to find out what he knows because this is a big fucking deal, this whole plan that he could blow up. And we find out he does know this plan, and he's essentially trying to get it stopped. He knows that they're on to him. He knows they're trying to find his laptop because they know that he knows about this plan. He goes to meet with this guy, Peter, Pete, who I think they said was like he's some important government official or the most important government official. I don't fucking know. But apparently he supposedly has a picture where I'm guessing maybe it was a Halloween costume or maybe he's just a fucking Nazi. But apparently there's a picture of him in a Nazi outfit doing that Hitler salute that Hobden kind of hangs over his head, which results in him getting hit in the face. So that's all we really get from Hobden this week. I need to get better with the names and who people are. Plus I have this cultural divide as well, right? So like you guys who might be in the UK who might be watching this probably know who this Pete guy is supposed to be. I don't know who he's supposed to be. If he has some title, I wouldn't even know how to translate that into importance. So, some of the cultural stuff gets lost on me, some of the language gets lost on me, but I was able to glean that he was some sort of important politician. And then also, like I said, we have some information on from Diana with their informative conversation that they have. She reveals the plan about having a person on the inside, how they're going to take down these sons of Albion and use them to take down others. She also reveals that the dude who was kidnapped is the nephew of like the number 2 in the Pakistani military or some shit, and like saving him, they could use this. She's like, if we curry 10% favor with them, it'll be worth it. So like, this is all a terrible plan, and I really just hope intelligence agencies don't operate like this. Like, set up a plan like this that could essentially result in a beheading if anything goes wrong, and it did result in a beheading because it did go wrong, and it was the beheading of the wrong person. Like, to set up that kind of plan as a way to bring down oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank on the word right now? Extremist groups. As a way to bring down extremist groups and to curry favor with Pakistan, it just seems like a terrible idea. But even worse than that idea was her plan, was her idea to stop it. And part of me wonders if the show is expecting me, and I know it's based off a book, if the show or book are expecting the reader and or viewer to look at this plan as legitimate, or if it's part of the shtick that this is a dumb fucking plan. And it just seems like a lot of these things are just really reckless. But her plan is to have... writing this down, I thought, this is so fucking stupid. Like, there's so many ways in which this can go wrong, and it ends up going wrong in an entirely different way. But her plan is to have Lamb go knock on the door. Their guy on the inside will open it. How do you know? How can you even guarantee that? Their guy on the inside is going to open the door. He's going to recognize Lamb. He's going to know that that's a sign that he needs to bail with the hostage. He'll bail with the hostage, and then they send the dogs in to clean up the mess. That's the plan. So many ways that can go wrong. What if no one comes to the door? What if the wrong guy comes to the door? What if the right guy comes to the door and doesn't recognize Lamb, or does recognize Lamb and doesn't just know that that means he's supposed to get out of there? Like, so many ways this can go wrong, and just like, it was very unintelligent of that agency. But the plan goes wrong in an entirely different way. By the time Lamb gets there, the inside guy's head is already cut off and they're already gone. So whew, lots of information came out in this episode. Lots of events unfolded. But also we found out that there's something involving Standish. I think it's Catherine Standish. She's the one that has the presumably dead husband and who had an alcohol problem, who is now not drinking and who he ruthlessly offers drinks to all the time. But apparently there's something involving her and probably her husband that is in her file that it would be in Lamb's best interest for Standish to not find out about. And in the flashbacks in episodes 1 and 2, we saw a flashback, I think, of the husband dead in a tub, and then another flashback where she arrives home and Lamb is there already and tries to make it seem like he's there to see the husband, but then the husband shows up and is like, hey, what you doing here? So like that Lamb was essentially in their house when he wasn't supposed to be. I think that was what we were supposed to take away from that scene. I'm kind of foggy on it. I don't entirely remember it, but something presumably there's some information on her in this file that Lamb does not want to get out. So he says in exchange for doing the knock, he wants her, I have to write this down because he had a list. He wants her file. He wants Moody to be disappeared. He wants it to come out that Sid is a victim of a violent crime as opposed to being shot in the head by a fellow agent. Everyone that goes with him on this job to knock on the door is fireproof. and she's in his debt until she's old. Pretty much a pretty big list of demands here, but she agrees to it. And like I said, the plan goes wrong. But really fun episode. I really enjoyed this one. It was, like I said, it was a mixture of hilarious, exciting, informative. It's a fun show. It's a fun show. So I want to wrap up with a couple of thoughts. My one problem with this episode, and if you watch my video on episodes 1 and 2, you already know what it is. Apparently, fart jokes are going to happen in every fucking episode for whatever reason. We're 3 for 3 here with another fart joke. I fucking hate fart jokes. And it's like, I don't know what it is about, like, this show's humor is smart all the rest of the time. And they just interject all these fart and shit jokes. And it must be some UK shit where maybe they think that's way funnier than we think it is here. But then again, I can't make us sound like we're sophisticated here in the States because we are fucking not sophisticated. I'm sure more people enjoy the fart jokes than don't enjoy them, but they drive me crazy. I love the line, and we saw it in the trailer, but when Min says, I wasn't trying to kill Moody. And it's like, it's funnier when you know when you know all the characters and what was surrounding it than it is just hearing it in the trailer. But he says, I didn't mean to kill him. And he's like, of course you didn't mean it. If you meant to kill him, he'd still be alive. I thought that was a great line. And I love how right after that, when Lamb finds the phone and he says, there's only one number in here. And it was like an incoming call or something like that. And River goes, you should ring it. He goes, no, like, I don't remember what he said, but I know because I was saying at the same fucking time, no fucking shit, River. Yes, he should fucking ring it. Like, what a ridiculous line. So like I said, this show has some great humor. I generally do like British humor aside from the fucking fart jokes. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this show. So I think it's 6 episodes for this quote unquote season. And it's going to be split into, I don't want to say split into 2 parts, but like a second season that's based on a second book. But as good as this show is, it should definitely get the second season and I'll be in on it. Like, I'm really enjoying this show. So I believe there's 6 episodes. So I will be here to talk about episodes 4, 5, and 6 in depth. We can get some theories. We can talk about it in the comments. And until next week, peace.